Welcome to Ghostly.
Who is telling the truth and who is telling lies?
Ghostly is a podcast that comes out every other week. In each episode, we take a ghost story or paranormal event and look into its complete history. Rebecca then gives us evidence proving that the story is real-ish, and my job is to debate those pieces of evidence and get you, the listener, prepared to vote on if it's real or not. Although that is not what's going to happen on this episode. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. As always, we're your host. I'm Pat.
And I'm Rebecca.
So, man, we've got so much going on in this episode. You know what? Let's just get right into it.
Let's do it.
So we do have some shout outs. There are two ways to get a shout out on Ghostly. The first way is to give us a review on Apple Podcast. We always prefer the 5-star reviews, but we'll read any and all reviews that we receive. Today we have 2 reviews. Mm-hmm. But the second way is to either buy us a coffee on buyusacoffee.com/ghostlypodcast or by going to our website, ghostlypodcast.com, and hitting the Buy Us a Coffee button on the top. Or you can become a member on Buy Me a Coffee for Ghostly.
Yes. All right, so I'm going to go first. Our first shout out is a Buy Me a Coffee for Ghostly. Whoa. Jeff Larchick, thank you so much for buying us some coffee this week. We really appreciate it.
And we really needed it because we had to prep for this episode with Terry Carnation.
So exciting.
So I'm going to go next. And what I have is a Apple Podcast review, and it is a 5-star review from Josh the Dogman. And it is labeled Ghostly. So if you have even a passing interest in a supernatural, check out this podcast. Ghostly is in my top 3 favorite podcasts. Both hosts are terrific and make compelling cases for the stance on various supernatural and paranormal phenomena. Phenomena. Oh, never mind. Although I have not had any overt experiences, I do believe that people can and do experience unexplainable occurrences. However, unfortunately, some people are dishonest, and I like that Pat will call them out on it. Yeah.
Woohoo!
And Pat and Rebecca, if you happen to read this review, I have 2 suggestions. I would love to hear an episode on the experiences of the Schneider family. Snyder? What? I can't say that. Family from the 2009 film Haunting in Connecticut is based on. And I found the story and the movie very frightening and would love to hear your thoughts on it. My other suggestion. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, that movie terrified me as well. Please know that is on my list for us to tackle at some point. It will happen.
So Josh's other suggestion, it may not be possible, but I think you guys should try to hit up Dan Aykroyd and see if he'd be willing to be a guest on the show. It's a long shot, but you never know. And at any rate, thank you so much for what you do and keep up the excellent work. You know, I have a question for you. Since he was on the movie that we could not say, can we actually have him on the show then?
You know, I don't know. It's a great question. And I also know that I'm pretty sure Bob After Dark would hurt us physically if we had Dan Aykroyd.
I think he would, yeah.
Before he had him on Bob After Dark.
We would at least have to have Bob on the episode as well.
We would. All right.
You want to read the next one?
I will. I've got another one. This one is from V Farrell 66. Good podcast, 4 stars for this one.
Okay, I'll take 4 stars.
I really like your podcast. I would have given you 5 stars, except Pat can get on my nerves sometimes.
Yeah, I could see how that could happen.
Me too. Also, you don't always do all of the research. During your Poltergeist podcast, you didn't mention Dominic Dunn having bruises on both sides of her neck in the last major scene of the movie when she jumps out of a car screaming. If you notice the bruise on both sides of her neck, you will notice that they look like strangulation marks, even though I'm sure the producers of the movie, one of them wanted them, I think, to look like hickeys. But considering how she died, quote, by strangulation, I think this goes more towards the curse, exclamation mark. So, I will say I did a lot of research for that episode. I did not see this. This did not come up in any of my searches, but I am now curious and I'm going to take a look.
I'm and
interested.
now we have mentioned it on the show.
There you go. Now it's official.
All right. Do we have any? Oh, by the way, thanks everybody for the podcast reviews. And Jeff, thank you so much for buying us coffee. We really appreciate it. As I said, we needed it for this episode for sure.
For sure.
Rebecca, do you have any listener mail?
I do. So we're going to have to take our minds back a few episodes. We're going to go and catch back up with part 2 from a letter from Brian. We read the first half of his ghost story, of his letter a few weeks ago, but then we had a snail mail come in, and those always take priority. I'm so sorry, but they come in, and so we're gonna go ahead and finish up Brian though right now. So this one, if you don't remember, he lost a lot of his family in a car accident, and they started having experiences around the house. And so this is kind of continuing on, I think, as he's growing up. So says, these spirits would follow me around. For example, I went to visit my cousin. So it wasn't just at his house, they're following him around other places. So for example, I went to visit my cousin. When we went to bed in his room, we were scared beyond belief. The door of the closet opened, a light and a crazy sound like a screech that I cannot explain. Ooh. It was like someone or something was going crazy in the closet. Hangers and clothes were flying everywhere. Then the light flew out through the closed window. My aunt and uncle tried to find out what happened in the closet. We just couldn't explain it. Late at night, I would hear my dad come home from work. The back door would open. He would take off his shoes and walk to his bedroom. Obviously, nobody was there. I think his dad passed, right? Like this was like his dad should not have been doing these things. This was witnessed by everyone in the house. This would happen on a regular basis. My grandmother ended up sending me to a private Christian school. I even had an exorcism performed on me. It didn't help. Wow. I was plagued with spirits. Spirits continue to talk to me. I see them. They like to visit me in my dreams too. I say a little thing before I sleep at night. I always tell them they can talk to me and not through me. I regularly cleanse my home. By the way, my grandmother had abilities. She would tell me to fear the living, not the dead. My aunt has abilities too. I have read that it is passed from generation to generation. My grandmother and my aunt would tell me about their experiences. We were free to talk about and discuss our experiences. I have so many stories. I've encountered more spirits than I can count. I have to watch what I say around people. For example, I was at a construction site and saw a spirit by the only tree for 200 yards. She was hanging a towel on a branch. I mentioned it to my colleague. He looked and didn't see anyone. I'm sure he thinks I'm crazy. She was solid. Some spirits are really solid and some are transparent.
Interesting.
I have encountered shadow people. This guy goes through all of our episodes here.
Wow.
I have encountered shadow people. I have no idea what they are or where they come from. They can talk to me. They kind of freak me out. I really don't like them. I try to avoid them. I have lived with this now for 52 years. I have embraced my gift, if that is what you call it. I frequently talk to the dead and try to help them move on. Most of them just want to talk. Some of them are lonely and confused. I really hate it when I see babies and young children. They break my heart. Of course, I question everything. I cannot prove that the dead are speaking to me. I am constantly wondering if I am sane. I am skeptical. I could literally be suffering from some kind of undiagnosed mental illness. Lucky for me, it doesn't interfere with my everyday life. My wife is very understanding. She knows everything, and I tell her about my experiences when she asks. I don't discuss these issues with my children. I just hope that it skips a generation. I don't want my children to suffer like I have suffered. That's my story. Kindest regards, Brian.
Wow. Well, I definitely hope that your children don't suffer the same. And it doesn't really matter if it is paranormal or if it's like a mental illness or something. It's still something that you suffer from. And I'm really sorry that you have to do that.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a lot. But I'm glad you have a supportive wife. That certainly has got to help.
Yeah.
We always want to hear your stories. If you have a story to send us, you can email us at info@ghostlypodcast.com or just use the contact form on ghostlypodcast.com. If you're like, I can't write it out, that would take forever. Just call and leave us a voicemail at 630-448-2138. Or, as I mentioned earlier, we love the snail mail. So you can send us that at P.O. Box number 264 in Geneva, Illinois, 60134.
Awesome. I guess it's time for the polls.
It's time for polls. So in our last episode, we talked about the University of Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. And our count was yes, 54.5%, no, 45.5%. So close, my friend, but not close enough.
I mean, that's a tie, right? That's pretty much a tie.
No, it's haunted. I'm sorry. The people have spoken.
Oh, wow. Just like that.
Just like that. Now, we're going to talk more about today's episode, but just a reminder that you can always vote on our polls after every episode by going to ghostlypodcast.com and clicking on polls.
The polls for this one are going to be a little bit different, and we're going to explain that in just a second. But last year, we decided to do something fun for April Fool's Day. We did an introduction to the opposites. And we named it Skeptics Day. April Fools will always be Skeptics Day to me. We had Nick Madrigal and Bob Anderson on the show, and we talked about microclimates. You remember that, Rebecca?
I do.
It was one of my favorite episodes, I gotta say, because it
was fun. It was everything was flip flop, topsy turvy.
So this year, we were trying to figure out how to bring all the fun of Skeptics Day back out. And thanks to Bob Anderson of Bob After Dark, we formulated a plan. We wanted to start it off with everyone being a skeptic. And we were just like, how could we do that? Well, we figured it out by playing a game called Truth or Lies, where we tell ghost stories and you, the listener, guess if they are truth or if they are just lies. Now, we will also guess, but that doesn't count towards anything.
That's just our own personal thing, right?
And we might guess a certain way to throw you off as well, too.
You never know.
Then all of a sudden, Terry Carnation from the podcast Dark Air with Terry Carnation, he asked if he could be on the show. And I mean, like, of course he can. We jumped at that opportunity. Yeah,
absolutely.
But we did ask him if he would play Truth or Lies with us, and he said he would.
Yes.
So, yeah. By the way, this episode will also be a video episode. So if you head over to YouTube, you can see us interview Terry Carnation, who is definitely not Rainn Wilson. You know, member from The Office.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. 6 Feet Under and House of a Thousand Corpses and like 1,000 other movies that I can't name right now. But you can also watch us play Truth or Lies with Nick Madrigal, who is definitely not David Hickney of Freak of the Week, and Bob Anderson of Bob After Dark, who is definitely not the legendary Mothman.
Now, this you can also just stay right now and listen. You can listen to this whole episode, but you can also go watch it on video on YouTube.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Also, do you want a ghostly t-shirt? Well, this episode is also a contest. Head over to ghostlypodcast.com/polls to enter the contest and win a ghostly t-shirt. The winner will be the one that correctly guesses the most stories that are true or a lie. And if there's a tie, then we will randomly pick from those entries. Entries must be received by midnight on April 6th to enter the contest, because we will reveal the correct answers on a very special ghostly that will come out on April 7th. It'll be a very short episode. It's just going to be the reveals.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm going to tell you right now, this was such a fun episode to do. It's spooky. It's fun. It's funny. All the guests are great. I love telling these stories, and this for me. It's hard for Team Believer to have a good Skeptics Day. This was a good Skeptics Day.
Absolutely. Well, anyways, let's just get started with Terry Carnation, who is bringing his paranormal radio show, Dark Air with Terry Carnation, back as a podcast, and it comes out on April 1st.
We hope you enjoy and check it out.
Right after the break.
Oh, hey there, Count Panic. I got a question for you.
What's that, Bob?
What do you know about Mothman, the Loch Ness Monster, ghosts, demons, and things that go bump in the night?
Not much, Bob.
Well, lucky for you, we host a podcast called Bob After Dark where we talk about legends, lore, and the supernatural.
Wow, where can I find this podcast?
Wherever you find your great podcasts at.
All right, well, welcome to Ghostly, Terry Carnation. We are so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Patrick. Thanks for having me.
We are such big fans of your work. Dark Air has always been such a great thing to listen to, and it is just amazing to have you on here. I am a big fan,
and we love all the crazy stories that you've come across.
Yes, indeed.
So I'm not sure if you know this, Terry, but I am the resident skeptic of Ghostly.
Well, you won't be a skeptic for long.
That's what I was hoping for. I was hoping that you would have some interesting tidbit or story that might just convert me right here.
Well, how about this? Let's go back to the very beginning. Terry, you might ask, how did you get involved in the paranormal? What gave you a curiosity about the supernatural? Well, I'll tell you, Patrick. Growing up as a child, I lost my mother.
Oh, so sorry.
Yes, well, I literally lost her. She was in a shopping mall, and then she wasn't. So I'm not sure what happened there, but I was raised by a spectral mother. I was raised by a spectral mom. So,
whoa.
Wow.
Yes. So, she did what regular moms do. She folded the laundry and mopped the kitchen floor and made me oatmeal. This was especially challenging because she was spectral.
I was just going to say, how did she pick up anything?
How did she pick up anything at all? Well, let me put it this way. I had to do a lot of help around the house, okay?
I see.
It wasn't me sitting in the corner on my Nintendo Xbox. No, indeed. It was me folding the laundry right by her side, cooking the oatmeal right by her side. And she loved me so much, Patrick. Our bond was so deep. It was so beautiful. We laughed. We would laugh together.
Mm-hmm.
So,
As you would with the spectral mother, yes.
And I guess for me, do I miss, would I rather that I had a corporeal mother? Did I wish I had a corporeal mother? I don't know. I don't feel like I was missing anything. I don't feel like I was missing anything at all. I had a ghost. Remember Ghost Dad?
Yes. You had Ghost Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
That is a classic movie, and I am terrified that Bill Cosby's recent the revelations have destroyed the classic sensibility of Ghost Dad. It's a work of pure genius. But listen, Patty, later on, people would say, skeptics such as yourself would say, "Oh, he didn't have a mother at all. He was abandoned at the local shopping mall, and his mother took off and was found later living in Reno working as a blackjack dealer. And he was raised only by his father, who was working full time, and he made up this spectral mother in his head." That's what they would say.
Mm-hmm.
And to that, I say, can I swear?
We are a family-friendly show, but we could bleep it out.
I say, fudge you for your skepticism, because listen, I know what's real. That was her attempting to hand me the oatmeal, even though it was me making it in the microwave and handing it to myself. I know that was her folding the laundry, as us laughing together and cracking jokes. But yes, I was doing the actual folding, but she was there alongside me always.
Yeah, because that would have just been weird if you were laughing by yourself,
I mean, do I look insane?
No, not at all. Not at all.
I mean, do I sound insane?
I just have no, not at all. And I just have one question, which is, was she in white? No. We've noticed that many spectral women are often the lady in white, and that would make perfect sense to me if that was your mother.
As a matter of fact, for her 37th birthday, I went down to the local JCPenney, and I saved $12.40 from my paper route, and I went and bought her a fuzzy purple bathrobe.
Oh, that was nice of you.
Yes, and I brought it to her, and it was a beautiful thing. Her standing there, and me holding it up, just putting it right over her shoulders, and letting go, and the robe fell to the floor. And
yeah.
I bet she was very pleased, though.
Interesting fact, Rebecca. What I learned, what I've subsequently learned, is that in the ghostly realm, in that particular level of afterworld, there are more colors than you could shake a stick at. There are colors that we haven't even dreamed of before. There's all kind. Yes, there's flurple, there's glauco, there's vintrob. There's so many colors that we're not able to see with our very limited vision. Unfortunately, when they visit this side, those colors don't translate, hence the white robes.
This is going to change everything for me. Everything. That's amazing.
Definitely. You know what? I think I might be a little bit more of a believer now. Thank you, Terry.
Listen, I try to do this every week. How is this possible? It's your special powers, Terry. I don't know.
We have the king of paranormal talking to us now. So
I don't know about king, prince of paranormal, the pope of paranormal.
The pope of paranormal. I like that.
Anything with a P. I mean, it's funny when you do it with a P, because it's paranormal has a P. So any kind of P that you put in there, like the
alliteration,
the plum of
the plum of paranormal,
the pinnacle of paranormal.
Yes, that is
Purple pinnacle of paranormal.
The pupil of the paranormal. See that? Anything with a P. The pine cone doesn't work.
Not the pineapple, though. It probably wouldn't.
It doesn't work either.
No.
Well, I just wanted to ask. We're so excited about Dark Air coming back as a podcast, and it's tomorrow. It's going to be out on April 1st, right? This is coming out on the 31st. So I can't believe that you are bringing it back. How did it happen?
Oh, thank you for your kind question. Well, Rebecca, I went through some dark times, indeed, for several years after the loss of my wife, Zelon.
Wow, you've lost a lot of women.
I didn't actually lose her. She died.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
So that wasn't actually a loss.
Okay.
Like my mother. But yes. Here's detect the theme much? Women get close to me and then do you want to hang out sometime, Rebecca?
I mean, I'm a little nervous, but we'll see.
So I went through a dark period, but I feel like I'm ready. I really do. I feel like I am ready to get back on the airwaves. I have been in therapy for a very long time with some of my mental health issues. And, I brought it up with my therapist, Dr. Norman Kesden. And I said, Dr. Norm, Big K, what do you say? Terry Carnation back on Dark Air. Ready? Yes or no? And he said, of course. Under no circumstances are you to go back on the air. You are not ready, Mr. Carnation. Don't do it. If you listen to one piece of advice I give you in any session from in the past, into the future. Don't. You're too fragile. It'll never work. You're too imbalanced. And I was like, oh, pshaw.
Well, it was clear he really meant go ahead.
He was joking.
Clearly.
Something.
I mean,
It was a test.
Maybe it was.
that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Yoda with Darth Vader's son. What's his name? Oh, spoiler
Anakin.
alert.
Yes,
No,
yes.
Luke with Luke.
So I felt like I was ready and ready to return to the airwaves because it's all about the fans. It's like, hello, fans. I love you, fans, listeners. I'm here for you. I talk, you listen. That's how it should be. I talk, you STFU, and I talk, and there you have it.
There you go. Well, will there be anything different about the show now that it's coming back?
Excellent question, Patty. Listen, this show is about more. It's a documentary, really, documenting my life. So you'll go with me into the room with Dr. Norman Kesden. You'll be with me in my apartment. As I make friendships, as I travel around the Southland area of Los Angeles, as well as the backbone, the bread and butter of Dark Air, the call-ins. So I will be taking calls from listeners and having those conversations as well. So it's win-win-win.
The call-ins have always been, such a integral part of Dark Air. But to me, my favorite part is your advice to the callers. You just are sage-like in your ability to give great advice.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Do you need any advice, Patrick?
Oh, I'm sure by the end of this interview, I'm going to definitely need some advice. Yes.
You've changed his entire worldview, so I'm guessing that he will need some advice on how to handle it. Did you have any favorite callers recently, or as you were working on the show?
So many callers, so many great conversations that I've had. I suppose, well, one of my favorite calls is a regular caller named Marguerite. And she calls in to the show from various points in time throughout history.
Whoa.
And it's, Patrick would be like, oh, she's delusional, or she's making it up, or she's not really in the time. She says she's at the French Revolution. She's probably just at the War of the Roses.
No, I mean, people are always honest. So.
Okay, cynic.
Yeah, I say that's him being sarcastic. Trust me.
Yes.
I choose to believe. I say yes to life. I don't say no, Patrick.
I'm a naysayer. Yeah.
I'm a yay-sayer.
You're a yay-sayer. Yes.
So, Marguerite calls in from various points in time throughout history. She's called from ancient Rome. She's called from World War II, the bombing of London. She's called from she called from backstage of a Goo Goo Dolls concert in 1994.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I may have been there.
That is significant part of history. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, and so I always ask her, how are you calling me? There were no phone booths in ancient Rome. And she says, well, hello, cell phone.
She brings her cell phone with her. Yes. Yeah. That makes perfect sense then. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
I mean,
So
that's great.
You can't poke a hole in that, Patrick.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. There is definitely nothing wrong with that story.
He's so much nicer to you than he is to me, Terry. I need to have you on more often.
You shouldn't have to suffer through that, Rebecca.
No, she shouldn't. She shouldn't at all.
Do you want me to have him,
Ooh.
Well, I don't need him to be lost, but learned.
He could certainly be lost somewhere.
In time. Maybe I can go to the Goo Goo Doll concert.
He could be lost in the desert outside of Area 51.
Maybe we'll have to take a trip there.
Interesting thing, I might be a skeptic as far as ghosts go, but I'm not a skeptic as far as UFOs go. So I would love that, actually.
Excellent. Well, yes, it's the dawn of a new age, isn't it? When the government is participating.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
We've got
Very
pilots,
exciting.
We've got generals.
Mhm.
Finally.
Finally.
You're in agreement with me on this, Patrick. I've spent decades saying aliens were real. They were among us. They were living upstairs from me, dressed as an Armenian family. But they were absolutely from another galaxy and or dimension. And finally, the government is corroborating.
Definitely. I mean, these are strange times that we're in right now.
Strange
Absolutely.
times. Everything has been turned upside down.
Yeah. So, Terry, this episode of Ghostly is all about truth and lies. Yeah. And we were wondering if you'd be willing to play a game with us.
Okay.
So all you have to do is tell us
Uno?
What's that?
I love Uno.
No, it's not Uno, unfortunately. All you have to do is tell us a ghost story that is personal to you. And then Rebecca and I, as well as our listeners, will try to guess if it's a truth or a lie. The listeners will submit their answers to us at ghostlypodcast.com, and one of them will win a Ghostly t-shirt.
Yeah, so we're all going to be telling stories, and we'd love to hear one of yours. Now, you already told us about your mother, but I'm hoping you have another really good ghost story, or
I do.
You could lie and make one up. It's up to you.
It could go either way, couldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What's about to come out of my mouth could be the most truthful thing ever spoken, or could be the most grotesque lie ever spoken.
Mm.
Wow.
Right. Are you ready? Fasten your seatbelts.
I am. I'm ready.
Can I have a ghostly t-shirt?
Sure, you can have a ghostly t-shirt.
Yes. All right. When I was a child, we lived for a time in Central America, and we rented a Victorian home on top of a hill, and everyone in the town said, this home is haunted. Well, we didn't detect anything. It was just me and my father. I had lost my mother before that point. But we were, my father noticed something strange. He woke up one night at 2 a.m. and he heard a sound. And he went downstairs in the morning and he said to himself, well, I'll be doggoned if the furniture hasn't been slightly moved from where it was the night before.
Wow.
So night after night, this would happen. 2, 3 in the morning. That's the sound of furniture moving on a wooden floor. And so one night, my father took a piece of chalk and he drew around the legs of the cabinetry, my crib, the dresser, the rocking chair, with the chalk, because he could never be entirely sure. And he, like yourself, Patrick, was a skeptic. That same night, that's the sound of furniture being dragged around. He came down in the morning, and not a single piece of furniture in the house was where it had been the night previous.
Wow.
So, what did he do? Well, he decided to pray to the spirits. So he opened his Bible and he opened prayers from other religions of the world. And he prayed to the undead and said, please leave us alone. Don't haunt us any further. Please leave our furniture alone. What do you have against our furniture arranging? Are you interior decorator? Robots? No, that's a lie. I didn't say that, but that was just me going all extemporaneous. And after he said these prayers and read from the Bible and read the holy words from the various world's religions, it never happened again.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow, I got chills.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
True or false? True or false?
That is the question. Oh, Pat, what do you think?
Well,
Make the skeptic go first.
I am going to say that was totally true. I mean, it gave me chills even hearing it. Rebecca, what do you think?
I've stumped the skeptic.
You have. That was it. It was the chalk that did it.
Oh, I see. Now, see, for me, I'm actually going to say lie.
What?
Because where was your spectral mother in this story?
Wow.
Mhm.
Good point.
Yep.
Good point.
Yep. It could have been little micro climate earthquakes, little something moving the furniture. I don't know. Mhm.
Oh, how the roles have been reversed, you two.
Definitely.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. I cannot wait to hear what the listeners think and see what they think. But can you remind us again of the details for Dark Air? I want to make sure where can they find it? When is it coming out? All that good stuff.
So Dark Air is a radio show, but we've decided to release as a podcast. Where all good podcasts are found: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, etc. It's called Dark Air with Terry Carnation, and it is released on April 1st. There will be at least 15 episodes documenting my life. Hilarity will ensue, and there'll be plenty of thrills and chills and spills. And just like my little ghost story, the hairs on your spine will stand up. If you have hairs on your spine. If you have hairs on your spine, you should see a doctor.
I think we have a friend who fits that description, but that's okay. He knows who he is. No, that sounds amazing. I think our listeners are going to love it. That sounds perfect.
Yeah. So I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. We really, really appreciate it. And thank you for helping me become more of a believer.
You see, stick with me, Patty. We're going places. Thank you, Rebecca, Patrick. Thank you for having me on your delightful podcast.
Oh, thank you. We really appreciate it. We can't wait to listen. It's going to be great.
Excellent. And remember, listeners, stay open to all possibilities. Even you, Patrick.
Yes. Thank you so much, Terry. We really appreciate it.
Au revoir.
Yes.
À tout à l'heure.
Ooh.
Wiedersehen. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
All right. I want to welcome back to the show Nick and Bob, two of our favorite guests that we've ever had. How are you guys doing?
Oh, hey there.
So Nick Madrigal is associated with the podcast Freak of the Week. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but he's not on it. He's definitely not the host, David Hickney.
No, and that's actually a weird thing because David somehow heard that you had Terry Carnation on this episode, and both of them being paranormal talk show hosts for call-in shows, he had an opinion, and so he decided to send me a singing telegram expressing his opinion about Terry Carnation being on your show. It was actually in death metal, which I didn't know they did singing telegrams in death metal, but it basically came down to, I let you on my show. I don't get to be on your show, but you let Terry Carnation on your show. I expect this from Patrick. Rebecca, you disappoint me. Were basically the main lyrics of that.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so for those of you that don't know, Ghostly was on Freak of the Week, where I tried to take over the show.
Yeah, he did not like you at all.
Yeah, he didn't like me at all.
It was on the episode about the ghost of Dave Coulier.
Yes, that was an amazing episode. No, you know what?
Which he's not dead, by the way. So just so people know.
I'm not on the show. I just produce it. I don't know anything about it.
Well, there's some thoughts on that, but you know what? I'll take it under advisement. Hickney can be a little unstable. I'm just gonna say. So, Ghostly, we've got standards, so I'm gonna see. But I do enjoy Freak of the Week. I have been on Freak of the Week, and I encourage everyone to listen to Freak of the Week. So,
Yeah.
We can see what we can do. I'll put the thinking cap on for that one.
I think he'd appreciate that. And, obviously, you don't have to bring him into your studio. Like,
that's not an option.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't if I were you.
The smell alone is not, we're not doing that.
I mean, I hear he's bathing now.
Whoa. That's a big change.
What?
Yeah.
Well, the world changed, and I think it's been interesting for him. So,
okay.
Now,
All
Nick,
right.
do you have anything else going on?
Oh yeah, I'm executive producing a series of short films called Nightshade. They're all short horror films. We actually took submissions from all over the globe and selected the 10 best. And we're doing monthly releases. Last Saturday of every month, we have an episode come out of Nightshade. The most recent one was Not a Dark and Stormy Night, which was directed by David Musto. And they're all available at vimeo.com/on-demand/Nightshade Horror, because we couldn't find a longer URL. And it is only 99 cents to see one film, and you can watch all of them for, I believe it's $8.99. I can't remember the price for all of them.
We paid the $8.99.
It's less than $1 per episode.
It's less than the 99 cents per. So you might as well just buy them all.
Might as well.
And watch them.
I'm so excited. They've all been great so far, and I helped select some of these and got to read them all ahead of time, and it's really fun to see them come to life. And I cannot wait for the final one. I think that my favorite one is the final one. So subscribe now, catch up. And they'll be coming out through like summer, right?
Yeah, last one comes out in July. That final one.
I was going to say Christmas in July, maybe.
Christmas in July.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a little
Very
worried.
exciting.
The writer and the director for that one are a little messed up. So we'll see.
Is it you, Nick?
That's a secret.
Oh, okay, that's a secret. Mr. Bob Anderson, what's been going on with you, buddy?
Oh, hey there, ghostly people and the Ghostly Society. Hello. It is I, Bob, the host, the director, the writer, the star of Bob After Dark, the weekly paranormal show.
Yeah.
You may remember me from such ghostly episodes as Annabelle and the Von Erich Curses and various other episodes I've been on.
Now, both of you actually hold records on Ghostly. Bob, you have been on more Ghostly episodes than anybody else besides me and Rebecca. And Nick, you are the only skeptic to ever come on Ghostly.
Still the only skeptic.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this?
Come on, skeptics. We can do better.
It's all right. I like having my believer Bob on as much as possible. Very exciting. Yeah. So what episodes have you had lately, Bob, on your show?
So this past month, it's been March as we're recording this currently. So every March I do Failure Month because St. Patrick's Day. So we talk about the Failure creatures from the Celtic areas and the fairy creatures that go with it. Last year I actually had Pat on one of my Failure episodes. We talked about the Tooth Fairy.
And we talked about how afraid you are of the Fae.
I am very much so.
That you keep a lead pipe by your bed.
No, iron crowbar.
Oh, iron crowbar. Close enough.
Crowbar.
I mean, come on, lead pipe, iron crowbar.
No, it has to have iron.
It has to have iron. Yeah,
you're just going to you're going to Clue.
Yes,
I am. Yes, in the study.
In the study with the iron crowbar. No, so this past week's episode was on the puka, which is a strange little creature
Poopy?
Puka.
Oh, puka. Okay.
Puka. The puka is a strange shape-shifting creature that picks up drunks and adulterers and throws them on their back and rides them at fast speeds around the countrysides trying to talk their... Yeah, you got to find out more. You could check that episode out wherever you listen to podcasts at.
Nice.
But pukas are real. I've had a necklace of their shells around my neck before.
Are they called puka shells?
Yeah.
That's great. No, this is the puka, the shape-shifting creature from the Fey world.
Now, can they shapeshift into a shell that goes on your neck?
Exactly.
I mean, maybe Nick's necklace might be paranormal.
Whoa.
Very exciting.
But Bob After Dark comes out every week wherever you guys listen to podcasts at. That's about it. Nothing really exciting coming out, except Pat and I have a podcast-only exclusive episode in the works we kind of briefly talked about, which we're planning on doing soon as a ghostly Bob After Dark collaboration project. Not revealing that yet.
Yeah, we definitely can't wait. We still haven't seen the actual show that it's based upon. So but anyways,
get on it so we can get moving on that. That's the only real exciting bit of news as we're slowly making it through this pandemic and trying to do what we can.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, this is the 1 year anniversary of Skeptic Day, where we talked about microclimates. And that's why I really wanted to have you guys back. I think you guys should come back every single year on Skeptic Day. But, you know, I know your schedules can be kind of tight, so we'll try to work that out in the future. But we got you guys for this one. And this one is all about truth or lies.
So it's a contest, right?
Yes, it is a contest where someone can win a T-shirt if they guess the most amount of stories to be either true or lies.
I feel like Rebecca's going to win the T-shirt. It's pretty obvious.
Nobody that's on the show currently, except for Terry Carnation, can get a T-shirt.
No, see, that's just going to make David Hickney even more angry if Terry Carnation wins a T-shirt.
Well, he asked for one. David Hickney didn't.
Fair enough.
It's true.
Yeah,
this is true. So we've already heard Terry's story. So do we want to? When Pat and I already made some guesses as to what we think if he told the truth or a lie. Did we want to start with your guesses? What we played you guys his story.
Yes.
So Bob After Dark, what are you thinking?
I was going to pass it off to Nick to go first because I know Nick's
we make the skeptics go first.
That's I'm going to make the skeptic go first.
Yeah.
I think it's a lie. I think it's a lie. Yeah, I mean, Terry.
Wow, Nick, you and I are agreeing on something I don't even know.
Terry doesn't seem very trustworthy to me, first of all. And second, this idea of putting chalk outlines around things. Everybody knows if you put a closed circle around something, it protects it from supernatural occurrences. I mean, if you believe in that stuff.
Only if it's done with salt, Nick.
No, you can make a circle out of anything. Salt is just the most common. But here's the thing. Stuff still moved. Plus, I don't think it moved because I think he's making it up. But even if it was, let's be real, it could have been a micro earthquake, you know.
Microclimate earthquake.
Well, no, it's not a climate, it's an earthquake. But it all seemed to be kind of a little too convenient, this whole, we put chalk outlines around everything, which you're ruining the floors by doing that.
Yeah.
Like, who would do that? I mean, plus his ghost mom wasn't in the story at all. You mentioned that, Pat. I mean, all of these things.
And he called me Patty.
Well, that's fine. That didn't bother me. In fact, I kind of liked that.
It bothered me a lot.
But yeah, it just didn't seem like it held water to me.
Okay. So Nick says it's a lie. So he is Team Rebecca on this one, I think.
Yes.
Whoa, that's a first.
That's a first and only.
You know, it's this is going to be a one-time thing, but I'm actually going to side with the skeptics on this one.
Whoa. Wait.
Well, wait, the skeptics are divided.
Yeah.
At this point.
I said it was the truth.
I'm going to call the story out. Now, Terry is a brilliant storyteller, and he did a really, really good job telling it. But, you know, studying the world of the paranormal as I've been my entire life. First off, micro-earthquake, Nick. Is that related to the microclimate?
No, it's a thing. It's a small magnitude earthquake.
I know it is. I was being silly. Anyway, no. A chalk outline? I've never heard of someone drawing a thing of chalk to protect themselves from the paranormal. Usually it's salt or, sulfur or ash. I've never heard someone say chalk. And the fact that Ghost Mom wasn't in it blew my mind. Maybe Ghost Mom could have came and saved them through the story as a spiritual guide, maybe. So I'm going with great story, greatly told, but not factual. Hashtag Bob joins the dark side.
Whoa.
Wow. Wait, this is the weirdest thing that I am the only person that believes this story.
Wow.
That's because you have a crush on Terry Carnation.
I was gonna say, is it because Terry? If I told that story, Pat, in the same exact words, would you believe me?
No, I wouldn't believe you at all.
Exactly.
Exactly.
No.
This is what I dealt with, guys.
I don't have
All
a
right.
boy crush on Terry Carnation.
I didn't say boy crush. I just said crush.
I mean, maybe if it was Rainn Wilson, I would have, but definitely not Terry Carnation. I'm just saying. All right. So I asked you guys in advance to prepare a ghost story that could be true or could be a lie. And I'd like to start with Nick, actually.
Oh, okay. So this story takes place back when I was a kid. In the house I grew up in, like the first half of my growing up time, like before high school, I would live
Before puberty.
Yes, well,
you're Greek though,
Is middle
so
school
yeah.
involved in
puberty
there?
happens at like
boy.
It's like right at the beginning of middle school. We moved out of this house, but we lived in this house. It was just over 100 years old when we were living in it. And I had my own bedroom, and at night I had a race car waterbed, like the ones that had like the red sports car side.
Oh my
And then,
God,
like,
you're so lucky.
Yeah, it was super cool, right? But it faced my closet, like the end of the bed faced my closet, and so every once in a while, I would hear like sounds and like see like as it was like a slatted closet, I'd see like shifting in the closet, and it would freak me out. And so one night I decided I'm not going to keep the closet door closed tonight. I'm going to keep the door open so that I can see what's going on in there. And about, I'd fallen asleep, and I don't know exactly what time I woke up, but it was dark, like probably 2-3 in the morning, I'm guessing. And I see a shape in the closet, kind of a blobulous shape, and hear like these really almost like moaning sounds, creaking sounds, weird.
That was me.
Things. It was you? Makes sense. It does make sense. And then the next morning I noticed that like my t-shirts weren't like exactly where they were originally. Like they had been kind of like pushed over.
She put a check outline in.
No, there was no chalk outline. So I mean, at the time, obviously I'm a hardcore skeptic now, but at the time it freaked me out. I didn't really talk about it much, but then I asked my parents later on when I was older about it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, we actually got a deal on the house because the previous owner had killed himself."
Oh,
Yeah, he had hung himself in one of the closets, and I was like, "Okay, that's nice." So, interestingly enough, and I know I'm a skeptic, so people are probably like, "Well, why are you even telling the story if you're a skeptic? You don't believe it?" I'm like, I still had that experience, but I think honestly, as a skeptic, the reason that I was having what I'm guessing was a waking dream was I used to watch liquid television right before going to bed, which if you've ever watched liquid television, that'll do it.
it will definitely do it.
A lot of our listeners probably have zero idea what liquid television.
It was like this weird like animation show on MTV. Like it had Aeon Flux and a bunch of weird stuff on it.
Okay, so
can we ask questions, or
Yes,
is that
we
we're
can
just
ask
making our
questions.
guess?
Go for it.
Okay. Like I was wondering, I guess just your thoughts. Like, do you think that you had at some point like heard your parents talk about like the deal in the house, or like what had happened in the house? Like, just didn't remember it. It just kind of like you heard it in the background and it got in your head, or anything.
Maybe because we renovated the house at one point, and so I wasn't in that bedroom before that, so that's when I knew the age of the house when we renovated it. So it could have been that they talked about that part of it when that was happening. I don't recall that, but it's possible.
Bob, do you have any questions?
No,
I don't have any questions either. I'm ready. I'm ready to decide right now.
I am too.
All right. I'll go first. Nick, I think you're telling the truth. Bob, what do you think?
Well, why do you think he's telling the truth?
Why do I think he's telling the truth? Because I know when Nick lies. I can see it in his eyes. And his eyes were very honest this time.
Honest eyes. All right.
Honest
Sorry,
eye,
Bob.
Nick.
Didn't mean to interrupt you. What do you think?
So being a paranormal investigator, part of my job is to interview people that have experiences.
Yes.
What paranormal, weird, outrageous. And you got to take these things in every context clue that somebody gives you, whether or not they're telling the truth or what they believe is telling the truth. You know, at the end there, Nick fully admitted that he is a skeptic and he believes what he experienced was a waking dream. Now I could take that a step farther and say it might have been a night terror. There might have been something hanging around causing these negative emotions, these feelings. And the fact that he came out and gave some skeptical sides of things, I'm going to go with 100% truth. I think you're telling the truth, Nick.
Yeah, it really is that, you know, whatever he believed at that time, whether it's true in actuality or not, it's just what he believed at that time. So, Rebecca, what do you think?
All right. Well, I'm going to say it's very tempting to say that it's the truth, but I know that Nick is a great storyteller. And so I think that this is a lie. I think this is a very traditional childhood ghost story. The whole, like, recently I was talking to my parents and we brought this up and it came out that this was the thing. Very classic. You could read this on Reddit anywhere. I think you're creative and I think you made it up. So I think it's a lie.
It definitely sounds like a sketch that he would have written. I will
right?
say that.
Like sounds like a Nightshade short to me.
All right. Well, Bob, why don't you go next with your ghost story?
You know, when you came to me with this one, Pat, I had several in mind. Doing what I do, I investigate a lot and I experience a lot. But I picked out one that happened to me by myself, and it was very strange. So over the years, I have been kind of honing in on my clairvoyance training, right? I've been trying desperately to communicate with something out there on a personal level that's a one-on-one communication. So if I see it and I experience it, I know it's concrete, right? You know, you go into an investigation and you do these things with, you know, groups of people or something. There's a lot of hysteria that goes on in these cases where, you know, you might look at it and say, well, was that just, you know, a bunch of people getting really excited, whether it be in a Ouija board session or am I sitting down doing a tarot reading? Is somebody doing a cold reading on me? Whatever it might be. I want my personal experience one-on-one. So where my office is at in my personal studio, not the studio I record at, but my office, and the house it's in is haunted. There's been a lot of weird occurrences here that I cannot explain. So one day it was a late night and the veil was at its thinnest right around Yule. And I said, you know what, I'm going to figure out who's here, why, and what's going on, you know, because there's a lot of things targeted to me directly. So first thing I do, bust out my divination deck, and I'm laying down 3 card spreads, trying to get a story and start getting a feel for what it is. Nothing's coming up that makes sense. So I look to the wall and I look to the shelf. I got 36 Ouija boards in my collection. So it's like, well, let's bust one out and see if this does anything. And, you know, a little tremble here and there. But again, it's like, okay, am I causing this to say, yes, something's here or not? You know, I want this to be true. And you know, at this point, I'm getting so frustrated because I can't get the answer I'm looking for. So I go downstairs and I brew myself a hot cup of tea with some loose leaf, and I was trying to attempt a tea reading on myself, which, if you guys don't know, it's a divination trick, just like people that read palms or something. You know, you get your tea leaves and they spread out in a pattern. You could read the tea leaves as a fortune. And I'm not well versed in it, so I think I just got really excited over nothing. I couldn't, you know, I was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm like, okay, I'm frustrated. Let's take a break. Let's try to, you know, hone in on this, try to figure out either what's wrong with me or the situation. So I'm like, I'm going to have a snack with my tea. And I look up in the cabinet and I was going to grab me a box of, you know, bowl of cereal. And the only thing I had, was alphabet cereal. I don't know why I had a box of alphabet cereal, but I did. So I pour me a box of alphabet cereal and I pour my milk in and I give it a good stir. It's going to sound crazy. And it's going to make me probably sound like a lunatic, but I kid you not, as I lifted up the spoon, I looked down at the letters for the alphabets, and it said BAD. I was like, all right, I eat it, and it was CALM. Was the second scoop. After that, nothing. I had nothing after that. But that's my story of my divination alphabet cereal.
Wow.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
Anybody
So
have any questions for Bob on this one? Wait, I do actually first before you, Nick.
Okay.
36 Ouija boards?
I have 36. I'm looking at my shelf behind me. I have several, but there's definitely quite a bit in the house. Some were handmade, some were given to me as gifts. Some I bought at markets and stuff like that. But yeah, I collect them. A lot of times my fans will give me them because they're cursed or something, and that's just my life. Is I collect these cursed objects that people give me because they don't want them anymore, and it's like, yeah, I like them. So
how many dolls do you have?
Way too many.
All
right, Nick, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So I'm curious about the tea. What kind of tea do you remember what kind of tea that specifically was? If not, what kind of tea do you generally drink?
I want to say I usually lean between like some of the fruitier ones, so like peach or raspberry, and then mint. I think in that case, I was probably looking towards mint because it was part of the season, and being Yule, you think about mint with the, that type of season. So I was probably having some sort of mint tea at the time. I wish I can give you a direct answer.
Sure.
And my question, do you typically, or is it common for you to use a Ouija board alone?
I have, I've done it in group settings and I've done it solo. And I could tell you that I get more responses in a group setting than I do solo. Mm-hmm. And whether that be, on the Skeptic Bro side, whether that be someone's pushing the planchette,
definitely,
or you have multiple energies kind of conducting one seance, and that's something kind of sees that as a beacon in the night, and you're just putting a lot of energy into it. That's my running theory, at least.
Mm-hmm.
All right, are we ready to vote on if it's true or a lie?
Yes.
Nick, you want to go first?
So this is an interesting story because obviously Bob is very much into the paranormal and the occult and stuff like that. And so he has the ability to take his experiences and his knowledge base and turn it into something that's very well crafted. And I think that's what's happening here is he created a very well-crafted story by taking two things that he knew people know that he is into, like the Ouija boards and the idea of tea leaf reading, which is a huge thing. I've had not tea leaves read, but I've had coffee grounds read, which is pretty much the same practice. So those are two very rooted things that I'm sure are real experiences for him. But then he got to the cereal, and when he got to the alphabet cereal, it made me think of 80s paranormal stuff like Poltergeist and Ghostbusters and the practical effects they do in those. And I was just a little bit I don't know about that. Plus, I just don't think Bob eats alphabet cereal.
Ah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hey. Rebecca, you want to go next?
Sure. So I will say, I actually kind of have, I don't know, I was going to say the opposite, where at the beginning I was kind of I don't know, this seems really weird. It's I tried this and then I tried that and blah, blah, blah. But I actually think this is true. I think Bob has had a lot of weird stuff happen to him that has made him who he is and made him the believer that he is. And I actually think I could see spirits being this tricksy, where it's we're not listening to you on the Ouija board, and we're not going to listen to do the tea leaves, but oh, your cereal, we'll see if you're paying attention, and then give you these Bob After Dark, right? Bad, and then call, just to have fun with him. So I'm going to say true. Pat,
all right.
What do you think?
Well, once again, I'm going to cheat at this game. Because we are doing this in video, so I was able to look at Nick's eyes and tell that he was telling the truth. I am also able to look at Bob and can see his reaction to how Nick said it was a lie and how Rebecca said it was the truth. And
I gave you the same response on both because Mr. Poker
no,
player,
you didn't.
I did.
and I have played poker with Bob before. So I am going to say that I have learned a couple of his tells. And he is lying.
Oh. All right.
Rebecca, would you like to go next?
Oh, okay. All right. Make me go the middle here. Okay, guys. So we've had the closet, alphabet soup, right? So my story, sorry, I'm kind of like delaying this. So this is not a story that I have told to a lot of people. Okay. So when I was young, now not as young as Nick, I was a recent college graduate and I had moved back home, but I was working in the big city, right? So I would take a commuter train to work every day, early in the morning. So one time I was on the train and I was on like the second car, meaning like it was the first car of the train, but like the second half of it. I don't know if you're Chicago and Metro, you know what that means. All of a sudden we like started to stop really fast and I felt the tiniest bump and my brain thought, we just had a bunny like that. I don't know why that was the animal I picked, but that was literally what I thought was like, because that's how tiny the bump was. But we stop and we're sitting there and we're going nowhere. Anyone who's ever been on Metro knows you sit there for a really long time and they tell you nothing. Of course, whispers start to go around like, oh, there must be track issues, like signal issues, engine issues, something like must have blown or whatever. And that's what we had to stop so fast. But we're all looking out the window. We're really close to, or I think actually the very first car was actually almost like in the station. But anyway, so we start to look out the windows and we see first responders arriving. So there's like police, ambulances, fire trucks. And so we're kind of starting to wonder like what happened, right? They opened the doors at a certain point so that people could, but not all the doors, the ones in the front, so people could get out and leave if they wanted to. I mean, this was like probably almost an hour in of us just like sitting there. And they basically said, we're going to be here for a really long time. So if you want to leave, you can. Obviously, you can't keep people trapped for too long. And some people like called for rides, whatever. Anyways, I was 22. So I was like, I'll just be late to work. Like, that's not my problem. Anyway, so we're watching, I'm waiting, like at some point, I guess we'll be going. And so I thought maybe, I don't know. I didn't know what was going on, but I see that there's all these emergency cars and there's like a group of people watching, right? Like there's people, business clothes, families that were like going to be heading into the city for that. It was the summer. So going in for fun. And there was like a couple younger people. And I kind of noticed this one girl in a hoodie, right? Finally, though, they announced that there had been an accident. Again, didn't give any details. Again, it was going to be hours before they could move. So they said they're going to bring a bus for us to take to go to like the next train station so we could get on a train and continue to the work, the city. So finally, the bus arrives. We all load out. It takes forever. Luckily, I'm in the front. So while we're waiting to get on the bus, I noticed this girl who had been in a hoodie, part of the group watching everything, was standing right by me, right? And I noticed she's wearing it was the same skirt. It was like a long flowery skirt. She had a t-shirt on under her hoodie. Her face was kind of down, so it's hard to see her face. But being chatty me, I asked her, like, what did you see? What happened? Right? Because I'm like, why are we all sitting here? And she looked at me. I could kind of see her face. She had these like earbuds in. So I wondered if she could even hear me. But then she just said, I don't know. And she looked really sad. So I was like, oh, crap. Did like her family just get hit in a car? And like, I don't even know. At that moment, I heard the bus door open and I like look over to see it. And when I turned back, just like say, hey, I guess we can get on the bus, she was gone. Like nowhere. Like I looked around, I looked, wherever, she was not there. It was like 10 seconds that I had looked away. I mean, I didn't really think anything of it. It was weird, but like not really, because whatever, she just stuck behind a person and I was getting on the bus. We move on. So once I'm on the bus, I look outside. I thought maybe I saw her back at the site by like the emergency vehicles, but it's kind of hard to see. Once I got to work, I finally was able to like go online, because this was before smartphones, right? So I was finally able to go online and see the news and find out that, yes, someone had been hit by the train. The bunny that I felt was someone getting hit by the train. It was the craziest thing. And like, just as a side PSA to everybody, that's how little we have. Like, the human body is nothing against a train. Do not ever race a train or anything with that. Like it was, so creepy. The next morning, though, is I'm reading the papers. I get the paper every morning to read on the train, and I read the whole article about what happened. And they had a description. Witnesses saw a young girl walk onto the train tracks, and she had headphones in and she had a hoodie on. And basically, like, they were all screaming at her, like, don't stop, the train's coming, get off the train, get off the tracks. And she didn't, and she was hit, and they like saw it happen. And when they described the girl, I realized that it is the girl that I was talking to. Like, I know that sounds insane. It's why I don't tell this story a whole lot, but like, they're, long skirt, had the hoodie, right? The headphones, like, seriously, full chills. Like, it was the freakiest thing. Never had anything happen like that to me before, never since then, but it did. I mean, it happened. And like, there were stories for like weeks about this. I don't know if you're in the Chicago area, you might remember it. Like, there was a lot of debate. Like, did she do it on purpose? Or like, did she just not see it? But when I saw a picture of her then, like, that her family put out, it was like, nope, that's the girl. That is the girl that I saw. I swear it. Anyways, it was like, I had some stuff happen to me when I was younger, but like, that has been the thing that has really made me a believer.
Yeah. All right.
So sorry, I know it's a long story, but it really happened. There was a lot of details and it's crazy. So.
All right. Well, we're going to determine if it really happened.
Okay, fine.
So do we have any questions for Rebecca here?
Yeah, I have a question. So you talk about the people like gathering and the first responders and stuff. Where were these people and the first responders in relation to where you were sitting on the train?
So they were like, so I was facing like the front of the train, right? And I'm on the like left-hand side, right? Because that's like the train station is there. So like you could kind of like just see it. Like, it's one of those things where like I couldn't see the track, right? Because like the engine but I could see them, like they're like on the platform in the street-ish.
But towards the front of the train.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. I mean, if I had been further back in the train, I don't know that I would have seen them as well, but because I felt the bunny bump, I was in the front, I could see them.
So you were in the first car.
Right, but like the second half of the first car.
Okay.
Again, like, so metro trains, like our train, there's like a middle part where the doors are. So there's like the front, and then there's the engine in front of that.
All right. Bob, do you have any questions?
I do not.
All right. Are we ready to vote? All right. Again, Nick, why don't you go first?
I think
so.
Poor Nick. He always has to go first.
This is tough because it's there's a lot of really good detail in this, and the thing about really great lies is they're wrapped around a lot of truth. And I think at least 3 of us have had plenty of experiences on the Metro and know exactly what it's like to be stuck on a delayed train and what they offer and all of those things. That also, it's really hard to say that someone is lying when they're talking about a story that seems very personally like jarring like this. But there are a couple of details that make me think that this is a lie. Firstly, I think if someone had been hit by a train, the train would have traveled further beyond them to the point where the first responders would have been behind you in location if they were trying to help a person or to gather remains, if you will. The second detail that makes me think this is a lie is you talked about this was when you were younger, before iPhones and all the things, but you used the word earbuds instead of headphones at one point for what the girl was wearing. And I think that makes me think that you fabricated this vision of this girl and you missed the era just a little bit by saying earbuds. So those are the reasons that I think it's a lie.
All right. Those are very good reasons. Bob, what are your thoughts?
First off, story rating. I think that's the term. Yeah, great story reading, Rebecca. I ate every detail up that I could there, and it was amazing. Growing up on the south side of Chicago, we commuted by train all the time, everywhere, and it was not uncommon for someone to unfortunately perish by train track. Mm-hmm. I've been involved, not myself, but I've been on the same train as somebody getting hit. And I've also been on the same schedule as somebody that's gotten hit before on a train. It's not a very pleasant experience by any means, but the first thing they wouldn't tell you is somebody got hit. So that's just, just facts real quick. I was buying it all the way up until the certain point, and that was a common ghost story trope of you turning around and communicating with the girl as if she was coming to you directly or as if she was there. And you didn't mention if you noticed her before or not. And on a commuter train early in the morning, it's probably filled with people. I
did notice her. Remember, she was with the group of people that were watching. She was not on the train. So I thought it was weird that she was by us, but it wasn't I had seen her. So I thought she might know something about what was happening.
I don't know. It's just a singled out target in a crowd of people. That's what threw me off. And I was like, great story, but I'm going fabricated.
Yeah, I mean, and to build off of that a little bit more, Bob, I think it definitely feels like a variation on the teenage hitchhiker story.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this time I am going to cheat again, but that's because I happen to know Rebecca very well. And I happen to have talked to her about train rides. And first of all, I have listened to going on 60-something different ghost stories that Rebecca has fabricated. So I notice patterns, so that is kind of a lie, right? I mean, that's kind of cheat right there. But the one detail that she said that is going to make me say that this was a lie is that she said she was sitting in the first car. I have talked to Rebecca before about trying to sleep on the train while on the first car and that it's very noisy sometimes. And Rebecca told me, I never will ride on the first car because of that.
And why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean,
why do you think that I no longer sit in the first car?
I just
because
think
you like to sleep like me.
I think Pat's cheating a little too much in this game here, folks. That's just my take.
All right, so all of the men don't believe me and my story, believers. So, yeah, all right. That's
all
fine.
right.
Wow.
All right. Well, it's time for my story. And I'm going to start this off revealing a little bit about my history here. When I was 13 years old, my father passed away, and he passed away in the middle of the night, and things were not looking good when I went to sleep, and I had trouble sleeping. So my mother told me I could sleep on the couch, and she slept on the other couch. And therefore, this created this need for me every day to sleep on the couch. I very seldomly slept in my own bed after the age of 13. And so it was like a psychological thing, obviously. And one night I went to sleep, and my dog Buford woke me up, and he was startled. Something was going on, and I didn't know what it was. And upon opening my eyes, I was really groggy, and I couldn't see very well, but I could make out a glowing shape. This glowing shape, as I adjusted to the light, it this is going to sound weird. It looked like the Virgin Mary, and I sat up completely. I didn't get off the couch yet, and I stared at it. I was already into supernatural things, so it was fear, but it wasn't the same kind of fear. It was a fear mixed with wanting to know, wanting more details about this. And my dog was totally freaked out this whole time. But then she was in the dining room, and the dining room and my living room were connected. There was a love seat that separated them. And this Virgin Mary started moving towards me, not walking. I couldn't see the feet move. It was like gliding in the air, like you would imagine a ghost would. That freaked me out. I stood up and I started backing up, and Virgin Mary came closer and closer to me. And I backed up, and I kept backing up, and my dog was backing up with me. And as I was backing up, I hit my back up against the doorknob of the front door. And then I don't remember anything else. I remember waking up in the morning and thinking that this was all just a dream. But when I looked in the mirror at my back, I could see that there was a big bruise already forming. And that bruise lasted for 7 days. I've mentioned this to some people before, and some people that were very religious, and of course, they believe that I had like some kind of epiphany or something like that. And I don't know anymore, and I don't have answers for this story. My dog was obviously very upset. My back was bruised. So that is my story. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Have you, may I? Should have asked first. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had an experience before this that you can't explain in the house?
I mean, the skeptic side of me now goes back and says it was this or it was that. But at the time, I would not believe that I could have explained a lot of stuff. And, I've talked about some of the stuff on Ghostly, like my Ouija experience where all the furniture was up on the couch. And so, I mean, that I couldn't explain at the time. Now I can.
I have a couple questions.
All right.
Firstly, what kind of dog was Buford?
Buford was a mutt, but he looked very much like a Rottweiler Labrador mix.
Okay. And then the doorknob on the front door, was it an actual knob, or was it kind of the ones where you push the knob?
Knob.
Okay.
Rounded knob.
Right. Rounded knob.
Rebecca, do you have any questions for me?
I mean, like at the time, did you put any, like, did you feel like you had an epiphany or felt like anything changed or like, I don't know, had any meaning for you?
Funny enough, no. At the time, I believe I was still a Christian, and I believe that I was starting to look into Christian spirituality. I can't remember exactly, but that seems like it was the time that it happened. So, no, I mean, nothing was said to me, nothing like I didn't receive any messages or anything like that. So no, I didn't feel that it was an epiphany.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Are you guys ready to vote? Nick, let's start off with you for a change.
Okay. So it's weird because I voted for both the other ones to be lies. And I guess I'm going to keep it perfect that way. I think this is a lie. And for a couple of reasons. First off, Pat, I love you. And part of the reason that I put you on so many of my improvised podcasts is because of the fact that you are very believable in your characters in those podcasts. And so this felt more like a performance from you than when you actually tell real stories from your life. Like you were really pushing the emotion on this. And most of the time when I talk to you and you tell me stories, you're a little bit more casual about it. And I think that is a sign that you were acting this one up a little bit. And I think that the fact that it was the Virgin Mary is very interesting because I think you literally did that because you're pulling from your South Side roots and you're like, oh, people are going to be like, oh, he grew up on the South Side. Of course it was the Virgin Mary. That, and then the detail that really made me decide, I think, is the fact that you mentioned that she wasn't walking but gliding. And I think that was you going, what is going to make believers go, oh, that was definitely a spirit. And I think that was the detail you added for that specific reason.
Okay. All right. Well, Bob, what do you think?
So before we begin, I just want you to understand that everything you're saying I'm very sensitive about, right? I don't want me to come off like a jerk in this. When somebody really close to you passes, there's a lot of trauma involved. And I'm not going to, that's a given. It was a very tragic thing that happened to you. And there's going to be some sort of trauma involved with that, especially at a young age. And I know this from, you speak to kids about their experiences and what happened before they've had an experience, paranormal, by the way. And you hear these stories about things. And you were how old again? Exactly what was the age?
I'm not sure. It was definitely in my teenage years, though.
So you're still at kind of that peak. So there's a lot of, paranormal involved with kids and it kind of tapers off at teenage years. But, you have those experiences after a traumatic event and maybe you're looking for answers and maybe you have a dream about things. But I'll be honest with you. I'm going to, I don't know if it's a traumatic experience, but the one thing that you said that really was strange to me was the floating. I have heard stories about apparitions and the concept of, a ghost making an appearance. And I don't hear a lot of floating ghost stories. I'm going to be completely honest. They're always walking or making stomping footsteps or, something along them lines. I'm going to go with what happened to your back. You might have been sleepwalking and you might have had some sort of nightmare or your brain created something that you were maybe subconsciously looking for. Maybe you were looking for an epiphany. So as I don't want to take away from your story, Pat, please understand I'm being sensitive about the material. I'm going to say it's fabricated.
So you don't think that this happened to him? It's
I
not that
believe,
you don't. Do you think it happened to him? It may or may not be paranormal.
Okay, so let me rephrase. Yes, it happened, but I don't think it was paranormal at all.
Okay, so you think he's telling the truth? Like this did happen to him. Again, you don't maybe it could or not be paranormal. Okay,
absolutely.
Because there is a different level. It's hard,
I should say yes. I believe it because you sometimes you create things and you might bump into something. But you told a really good story. I think you were sleepwalking and potentially having some sort of dream and forced hallucination, I guess, but I'm going to go with, definitely telling the truth here, Pat.
Oh yeah. My skeptic side will definitely try to find answers to what happened, but it's whether or not I believed it at the time. So Rebecca, what is your thoughts?
So you have definitely told me stories about you that are paranormal. You've told them on Ghostly, and I, like you said, with the furniture and the Ouija board, and I'm always shocked that you're not a believer. But I am going to go with Nick on this one, in that the Virgin Mary is just a really weird detail that like doesn't sound like you at all, like in any way, shape, or form. Like if you had just said like a floating woman or like whatever, like a glowing like shape, like I would be like, okay, like that, you know, maybe that happened. Like, again, you've had a lot of weird stuff happen to you, like, but that just seems really weird and out of character for you. So I am going to say that you made this one up.
Okay. Okay, so I want to thank everyone so much for listening. Please share us with your friends and family, as word of mouth is our best advertisement. If you are interested to find out whether or not these stories were true or lies, you're going to have to wait until next week when we release a special ghostly episode with just the reveals. But after that, we will be talking about the Excalibur nightclub, and hopefully we will bring back our man of Chicago, Mondo. The next episode comes out on April 14th. And what do you guys want to plug anything? You have anything going on that you'd like to talk about?
I mean, I like I mentioned at the beginning, Freak of the Week, and the Nightshade series. Also, please check that out. Also, I produce for Side Street Studio Arts the podcast Connected. We actually recently had a guest that I talked to about improv and podcasting and a bunch of stuff. Yeah, he was okay.
I think I might know that person. Yeah. Nick, actually, there's one thing I wanted to ask you. I know that you recently went on a trip to New Orleans.
Yes.
And I see all these pictures. Are you going to be selling these pictures at all?
Yeah, you can find my photos on either my Instagram, which is, I believe, just at Nick Mataragas, or Nick Mataragas Creative on Facebook. That's my Facebook page where I sell photos and design work and stuff. So they can find that stuff there.
And was anything haunted when you were down there in New Orleans?
No, because ghosts don't exist.
Bob, what do you got going on?
So, as I was saying before, Bob After Dark is a weekly paranormal podcast where I record live first in the glorious world of radio, and then I try convert that into what I call podcast land. So if you are more interested in listening to my live show, it premieres every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Central. You can find out more information at facebook.com/Bob After Dark or on Instagram at Bob After Dark. Podcast land, all my episodes are archived down there, so you guys can go and check those out and take viewer submissions. We take phone calls. We take, all of that good stuff. So it's a little bit of everything. Where Pat and Rebecca debate about ghost stories, I lay it out for you, and I may let you make up your own decision about what's going on, either in the world of ghosts, cryptids, aliens, that kind of thing.
And you are a real call-in talk show host, radio host, as opposed to all these pretenders out there.
I don't want to call them pretenders, but in the world, I guess out of everybody, yes, I'm a real call-in talk show about the paranormal that goes both in radio wave and in podcast form.
And every once in a while, me or Rebecca might actually call in too.
Yeah, I have several episodes where Pat will call in and actually give his support about something we're talking about versus smashing the skeptical mirror. Especially UFOs. I will always call in for those. Absolutely. And
go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for allowing me to come on the show once again and allowing me to grace your podcast land viewers with my voice, guys. And it's really cool to be a part of this whole thing with Mr. Carnation. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, we want to thank both of you so much for coming on the show. I mean, this was last year. We did the same thing. And I just thought, man, we had to bring you guys back because it was such a great show.
It was a really fun episode. Yeah.
Microclimates. Yeah. All right. Well,
and this truth or lie. Wait, I just want to really quick remind everybody, go right now to ghostlypodcast.com and go to polls and vote on who you think is true and who you think is a lie. I need to be redeemed. I'm telling the truth, people. Just saying.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.
Oh, bye.
And until next time, stay ghostly.
Bye.